Blackwater. Even the name sounds shady, doesn't it? Founded in 1997 by Eric Prince, Blackwater quickly became synonymous with the privatization of war. After 9/11, business boomed with lucrative government contracts in Iraq and Afghanistan. They became the go-to for heavily armed security without the oversight of an actual army. But Blackwater had a reputation for shooting first and asking questions later. The Nisour Square massacre in Baghdad, where Blackwater guards killed 17 Iraqi civilians, was a PR nightmare. They rebranded to XE Services, then Academy, and finally Constellus Holdings. New name, same game. Their foray into Latin America flew under the radar but was another chapter of shady dealings. Under the guise of fighting the war on drugs, Blackwater left a trail of controversy and chaos. Enter Plan Colombia. Imagine a multi-billion-dollar program supposedly designed to combat drug trafficking in Colombia. Sounds good on paper, right? Well, the devil is in the details. And those details involve a whole lot of Blackwater. Colombia, grappling with a brutal civil war and powerful drug cartels, became a testing ground for the privatization of war. Blackwater swooped in, offering their unique brand of security assistance. What did that assistance entail? They trained Colombian security forces because apparently the guys who brought you the Nisour Square massacre were qualified to teach others about restraint. They provided logistical support for counter-narcotics missions, which basically means they helped move things around, and they protected key infrastructure like oil pipelines, because nothing says fighting drug cartels like safeguarding the profits of multinational corporations. But here's the kicker, the part that really gets the outrage engine revving: aerial eradication programs. Imagine Blackwater operatives, hopped up on adrenaline and probably a few energy drinks, flying over the Colombian countryside, dousing coca fields with herbicides. The goal? To wipe out cocaine production. The result? A whole lot of pissed-off farmers, environmental damage, and a booming black market for coca, because apparently spraying poison on a problem doesn't make it magically disappear. Blackwater's reach extended beyond Colombia. Whispers of their presence popped up in other Latin American countries, particularly Mexico. Now, details are sketchy, because when you're a private army operating in the shadows, you don't exactly hand out brochures, but rumors swirled about Blackwater training Mexican security forces, teaching them the finer points of urban warfare and counterterrorism. Think about that for a second. The same company accused of human rights abuses in Iraq, the same company that thought shooting up a public square was a proportionate response to a perceived threat, was now schooling Mexican forces battling powerful drug cartels. It's like hiring a pyromaniac to teach a fire safety course. The exact scope of their activities in Mexico and elsewhere remains murky, shrouded in a veil of secrecy and plausible deniability. But the fact that Blackwater was even operating in these regions, often with little to no oversight, raises serious questions about U.S. foreign policy and the unchecked power of private military contractors. Section 4. The human cost of Blackwater's operations. Blackwater's security assistance often came at a real human cost. Human rights groups were up in arms. They accused Blackwater of operating with impunity, risking innocent lives. Allegations of excessive force and misconduct were rampant. Hiring a company with a shoot-first mentality had dire consequences. The aerial eradication debacle was another issue. Spraying herbicides on coca fields devastated farmers' livelihoods. Farmers abandoned their land as chemicals rained down. The environment suffered with unintended consequences. Blackwater's presence wasn't about fighting drug cartels, it was about making money. When profit trumps human rights, things get messy. Section 5. A legacy of violence and distrust. So, what did Blackwater leave behind in Latin America? Did they eradicate drug trafficking? Did they bring peace and stability? Well, if you look at the region today, the answer is a resounding no. In fact, one could argue that Blackwater's presence only exacerbated the problems they were hired to solve. The militarization of the drug war, the human rights abuses, the environmental damage, it all added fuel to the fire, creating a climate of violence and instability that persists to this day. Blackwater's legacy in Latin America is a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of the dangers of outsourcing war to private companies with little accountability and even less regard for the consequences of their actions. It's a story about the erosion of democratic values, about the blurring of lines between legitimate military action and mercenary violence. And it's a story that, unfortunately, is still being written today. Blackwater may have changed its name, but the stain of their actions remains, a stark reminder of the human cost of privatized war.